Hello! Today is the evening that I was supposed to be doing a live stream, but apparently I'm not allowed, so after having been more upset about that than I probably should admit to, I'm going to just do some filming to get my creative juices out that way. So this is a baseboard where I'm going to be doing a 009 layout just to sit on top of this IKEA unit, which presently sits here on top of this unit, and it's been designed to fit this unit for, I mean, at the moment it's in what I presume is an old fireplace, but it will probably end up somewhere else. But yeah, we're going to build a 009 layout that will fit this. This is going to be the first part to do with laying track and wiring it and stuff, I guess, and then we'll just do a couple of episodes of scenics and things like that. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, I'm going to try my best here, but I'm having a bit of a frustrating day, what with not being able to do that live stream, which, as I said, upset me more than it probably should have done. And I just shaved my beard and I put the wrong guard on and it's too small, and I'm 5, so I'm not happy about that either. So let's see what we can do. Speaking of 5mm plywood here, it's designed to fit that unit over there, so it is this big, which, as you can see from that, is about 1.5 HM2000 controllers wide by about 2 Black & Decker dustbusters long. Right. I have over here foam. I've been collecting polystyrene from things that I've purchased for quite some time. And I have a nice thin sheet, very noisy thin sheet over here, which I can just cut to size to sort of fit this board. And then we can, I can do things like I can use this to lay the cables under and things like that. And if I want to make sort of little gullies under the track, I can do that as well. So I'm going to find something to cut this with. Probably this knife, to be honest, will be enough. Well, I'll just drop the knife there. If that had gone on the floor and I had to bend down, it would put me over the edge, I think, with my day. Let's have a little look. So I'm going to do a very rough cut for now, just to get this roughly the right size. Up there. Go away. Yes, this is going to be a very rough cut, and what I'll do is work out what corner would be most optimal to line that up. It's going to be that one there, isn't it? We'll get that glued down now, and then we can trim off the excess in a much tidier fashion, and then we can start laying some track. So what I'm going to do now is we'll do a little cut. I will glue this, and then I will come back to this probably, well, I don't know, probably tomorrow now, once I've let time for this to dry. And then, yeah, in this episode, what I want to do is get the baseboard done, insofar as this, lay the track, and talk through my ideas for the rest of it, and then we'll do another X episode in the future. So that's the plan anyway. Okay, I've done a bit of Googling that tells me that PVA glue is the best thing for polystyrene. In hindsight, I think I knew that anyway. So what I'm going to do is get this massive bottle of it. I'm going to pull that little cap off. Is it just see? Is it? Might work like this. There we go. So just put quite a lot of this on here. Really, you should have prepared and brought something to spread this around with, but we'll do this for now. Get right to the edges. This came from this glue here, Hobbycraft, back quite a while ago now. I think $5.99 for a big old jug of that. So that's sort of what I'm using there. I was going to find something to spread this around with, and I think this bag will do. I have a dog, as you know, so I always have little bags laying around. Is this going to work? Yeah, not really. It's all about trying things though, isn't it? That's not worked. That's what that's done. So what we'll do is we'll do the more traditional thing, I think, of when you lower this on, just jiggling it around a bit. So I'm going to put this on in such a way that there is polystyrene on each edge of it visible, because that will be good for cutting it when it comes time to do such a thing. You know, what I'm going to have to do is find some heavy things to weigh this down with. But as you can see, and as was the plan, there is enough on this to cover every edge. So I'm just going to try and run a bit of a bead along it. It's not really working, but oh well. This is really a first step, and obviously there will end up being pins and things through all of this, and it will be held together quite well. I'm trying to think what the best way is going to be now to weigh this down, whether it's to flip it over, which it probably is with the rigid board on the bottom, and then weigh down on top of the foam. But there is all that excess glue on there. It feels quite secure as it is, but yes, we will do this way up, why not? There's a fence stuck to that. My layout was very tidy because I was preparing, I think I've mentioned it before, to live stream, which I now can't do. So it was nice and tidy, it's not anymore, sorry. Let's find a brush somewhere in the modelling supplies. I think one of these I haven't started to use. We can ruin it with that's not a nice sized one. Oh, that was good. Got a Humbrol brush, so I can just sort of. Oh God, it's all just dry anyway. I don't think that would have been very good for paint anyway. I'm not sure if this is doing anything really, but making me feel happier. As in, I don't know if this is really going to create a much effect, but hopefully it will stop the polystyrene lifting from the board. Hopefully, really should have somewhere completely flat for this, but we'll see. Cool, that job done. That brush is going straight in the bin. There we go. So now, find some heavy stuff to weigh that down with. I'm going to use the drawers from my stash of modelling supplies because they are very heavy. And they're pretty good size by the looks of it as well. Why not? This one is heavier because it has lots of paint in it. What I'm going to do actually now is I'm going to move this to the floor to weigh it down where it's a lot flatter, but that's the gist of it, and we'll come back when that's all set and done. Okay, so this has been weighted down for about 2 days now, and you can see I've sort of flipped it over, and I've cut most of the edges off other than a few little bits. I didn't show that, the whole thing, because it was a bit of a pain in the arse, but I'll show just how I did that, and then we can move on. Now, some of this cut when it was sort of a bit wet still, and it sort of gave a really nice clean edge, so hopefully we'll be able to do that with the with it now. It should be completely dry. That gouging is vaguely annoying. I suppose it's not the end of the world actually. There's a couple of chunks out. I think the worst would be any lumps on, really. Right, so yeah, it's a simple way to cut it. It's just a couple of overhanging bits like this. Got my scalpel, which you've seen me do many things with, and this has got a brand new blade on it, and then it is simply a case of just and it should just snap quite nicely off like that. And then the reason I didn't do these bits when I did the rest of the board was because these bits still had sort of big dollops of glue on it, and I didn't overly want to gum up the blade on that if I could avoid it, so that's what went on there. I'm just trying to run it along the board as best I can. Try and get as straight an edge as possible. There's a couple of bits of overlap here, for example, but we can just go over those when either a bit of sanding block or just try the knife again. we go, that's all cut quite nicely. Again, a couple of little bits of overhang here, but if I sort of stand the board up and loosen off the tripod and adjust that up a bit perhaps. There we go, look at that. Production value is increasing here. And just sort of slide it along the board like this. The problem with doing it like this is it can, this is where it can sort of start pulling out bobbles almost, and it doesn't give as smooth a finish on the edge. So you sort of see, you may well be able to see, here's quite sort of ruffled, here is quite nice and smooth. But this will probably be edged, this board. So this will be hidden. Well, there we go, that's quite good. So that's given me now a board with polystyrene on it, on which I can lay my track. So speaking of track, I've popped onto eBay, the finest marketplace in all the land, and I've purchased 2 lengths of flexible 009 track. And 009 track is effectively N-gauge track, but the sleepers on it are a bit different to make it look more appropriate for the larger models. So these are the bits that I've got. Now, flexible track has a couple of problems. One, doesn't come with any fish plates. 2, doesn't come with any holes in any of the sleepers. So what you need to deal with both of those are either some fish plates in N scale, which I do have some N-gauge track cutting about, so I will probably rob some fish plates off of bits of track like this. You can see what I mean about the sleepers here. So this is in N gauge, so this is quite small, and on these are obviously very much larger, but so would the models be. So you can see sort of the difference there. So nick some fish plates. I also have from a mystery box some pre-wired, and these are suitable for 00, pre-wired fish plates, but when I had a look before, there was no reason that this didn't slip and actually bite on quite hard to the end of this track, which I'm now obviously got the camera set up, I'm not going to be able to replicate. There we go. So cut them down, and there's no reason that they really shouldn't work. And then to drill the holes in the sleepers, a manual drill. So that's what we'll do next. We'll cut holes in this track. We'll get it laid on the board, and then I think this episode 1 it will be finished. Episode 2 we can wire it up and do start doing some scenic stuff and all good things like that. So next thing you're going to see will be on the bench drilling holes in this with this, and then attaching to the board, and then you can all go and do whatever you want until I can then be bothered to do anything else. So yes, stay tuned for that. Okay, so this is roughly how that process I mentioned about drilling the holes works. So what you do is you get your little pin drill and you locate it on the middle of a sleeper. Now on this 009 track they are slightly different widths, so I try and pick a nice wider one like that, and just sort of a bit of gentle pressure and a bit of twisting. This will begin to drill out now. I'm trying to think if there's any way I can, I'm right-handed, I'm going to try and use my left hand so you can sort of see more of what's happening here. Then start to lift off the cutting mat there, which is a surefire sign that I have drilled through, and I'm starting to drill into the cutting mat. So if I wiggle that out, you can see the hole. Flip it over, you can see, yes, the back of the hole. And just what I do here, normally what I do is I do all of them all the way along and then do this all the way along, but for the purpose of the video I will pick it up and I'll just spin this craft knife blade in that hole just to widen the hole slightly, just so that when a track pin gets hammered into it, it doesn't risk blowing out that sleeper. You can just see some shavings coming out of there. And that hole is now a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I will sort of super duper zoom into this bit of track, and then I'll show you that once more and try not to block as much of the light. It's just sort of unfortunate where the light position is in my office. So let's see, can I adjust the zoom here? Oh, maybe. No, so let's do a little cut, I guess. Okay, so I tried the 2x zoom, but it wouldn't let me use the ultra steady camera setting that I tend to use, and I didn't want to give everyone motion sickness if I knock into the tripod, so this will have to do. But I'm going to use my left hand again, so find the middle of a sleeper and just start drilling this into it. You'll just start to see some brown shavings climb the drill. I'm drilling, using my left hand, drilling in the wrong direction. I'm a professional modeller. That's why the cutting mat is full of holes where I've drilled through. So that's good fun. I can put that in the bloopers compilation, I guess. And if you just drill through, eventually it will start to rise where the track starts to climb the bit like that. And then you can just, yeah, you can sort of see that if I touch it down now, the track doesn't go all the way, which means the drill bit must be sticking out the bottom. Untwist, which was the way I was going originally, and you have your little hole. Then the blade of that just in there, just spin. Slight bit of downward force. And then you have a much bigger hole with which to put your track pin through, which will hold that down to the board. Very nice. So that's how you do that. And then we'll get it on the board and get it wired up, I guess. Okay, so this first part here is pinned down to the board. It's only just pushed into the polystyrene, so if I want to pull this up, I very easily can. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to get these shears, and obviously because it's a flexible track and these two rails are the same length, when it's pinned to a board like this inner rail is fractionally shorter than the outer one to sort of do the same distance. So what I'm going to have to do is cut these even. So if we do it on this one first, now these are a very good set of shears, so I'm just going to sort of put that down like that and just do the same on this one to make it even. And there's the difference of length on that part there, so that's come off. There's a nice yes, like I say, even part here. Now what I'll do is then pull this up and just snip that end sleeper off to give somewhere for the fish plates to slide onto. And because the flexible track, this is only attached on one side. I think that's just nicked that off. Oh, not quite, hasn't gone all the way through. And push that back in. And there we go. So now I can add the fish plates onto this bit of track, slide it sort of halfway up. And then again, another advantage perhaps of the polystyrene underlay is that I can just, once this is on, sort of gouge out a little channel for the wires to run so they stay nice and hidden. So that first one. And the second one right there, like that. So let's get something, my little cutting blade, I suppose. Just cut out a little V shape. Will do for now. Scrape that out. The fish plate has not gone on properly. Whoa. There we go. And just to get this back into place properly, about where we want it. And that's sitting nice and flat. And when the track's all ballasted, that will all blend in quite seamlessly, and it also will help secure this down. I will probably actually drill a few more holes and put a few more pins into that just to make sure it is nice and secure. Now the first thing I'm going to do now, before I lay this next part, is actually check that the loco chassis that I've got will actually run around a curve this tight. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll lay this next bit of track, and that'll be it for this first episode. So yes, fish plates threaded on the end of this new bit of track. Not too sure if I'm actually going to wire these ones up because there's not really a need for a bus or something like this. I'm just going to line them up and push them in. That's the top one in. There's just one more. So that's kind of made the oval there. This problem is this one of these bits of track is extending where it is flexible. So I'll try and push this along a bit while it's on the straight. Get these two bits to close up. An oval is on a board. It's not going to get any prizes for the best laid track ever. In fact, like, I'm not overly happy with it, but there's only so much sort of fettling that you can do, and I've gone in again and again and trimmed minuscule lengths of single rail off to try and get some of these joins a bit tidier, and it's getting to the point now, I think, where getting to a point of diminishing returns, and I can only bother to do it so much. And little narrow gauge industrial rails always have a little bit of jank to them, I think. There's always sort of the odd big bump across a certain join, but this wagon, which has been my sort of litmus test, is running sort of fine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a few more pins in this, keep it on the track, but and we'll give it a test. But as far as visually, that's it, and that's how that's going to look. So, little test, I think, and then we will maybe call that a success. We'll see. Okay, it's moved slightly, and in what is probably the least proper way of doing anything ever, I have pulled the double low gauge wire that comes in the back of my HM2000, which had previously been liberated from one of their fairly naff analog controllers anyway, and I've just stuck the two tinned ends into that two plug. We've got a Kato pocket line chassis over there. Little bit tight, little bit of a scrape. Made it okay over that join. There we go. So, are we calling that job done for laying the track? I think we are. See if it'll go the other way, I guess. Yeah, good. Oh, nice little scrape around there. And there we go. I've been getting very annoyed laying this track this evening, so this is actually making me quite excited seeing that just nip around there. So this is it for video one, and then we'll do scenics, and we'll also talk a bit about the locomotives I intend to do, because that, running around there, as smooth and as nice as that is, don't look very good, does it? So thank you for watching this first episode, and it's been a little bit of a series, so hope you stick around and watch forthcoming episodes.